Hey guys, Arleesha here, and welcome to another video. Today I'm going to be reviewing this Arteza half pan set for you. We're going to go ahead and jump right into some things I noticed right away. One of the very first things I noticed with this little card they included that shows the name and all the colors, I noticed almost right away that one, they didn't match up, and two, when I was looking at the actual half pans themselves, I was immediately underwhelmed. I was looking at them and the pans, some of them looked kind of dirty and they didn't sit flat in their half pans. I could tell that these are just, extruded paints, so they were dry paints that were cut and put in as opposed to paints being poured, in which case they tend to sit a little bit better in the pans if they're poured. With that in mind, I think it's very likely that the paints that Arteza is using for their half pans are not the same paints that they use for their tube paints. Another reason that I have come to suspect this is that you don't have any pigment information for these paints. So the colors all have a name and a number, but you're not actually getting any pigment information on these guys. So while there's also no information as far as opacity of the paint or light fastness, the names themselves can kind of help us to guess at what these paints are made of. The colors included in this set are, as named by Arteza, lemon yellow, cadmium yellow light, yellow ochre, cadmium red light, amaranth, rust red, Prussian blue, jade green, periwinkle blue, fern green, sepia brown, and noir, which is their black. As a quick note, as we're working on the swatches here, I did want to let you know that Arteza did send me these paints to review. And while they're not sponsoring this video, they did give me a coupon code that you guys can use on their website for 10% off your order. So I will leave the link for that down in the description below. I am an Arteza affiliate, so if you do purchase anything from their website, I will earn a small commission at no extra cost to you. But I would recommend checking Arteza's website as well as their listings on Amazon if you're interested in any of their projects, just because it tends to fluctuate as far as which one is more affordable. So sometimes it's cheaper to get things on their website, and sometimes you can save a couple dollars by purchasing on Amazon. As I was nearing the end of the swatches, there were some colors like that green that I really enjoyed, and I got to this very last color, which was supposed to be black, and discovered that it looked very much like the sepia. And I have used Arteza's tube watercolors, and that black was definitely black. So I did a little bit of research into other reviews that people have done for this set, and I'm pretty much 100% sure that I got a set that had two sepias in it instead of a sepia and a black. I was talking to my followers on Instagram and we were trying to decide if these colors were any different from one another, and ultimately I think it's just that there was an error with my palette. I did contact Arteza to let them know. They offered to send me a new one, but I didn't think it was necessary. I decided to go ahead and do a color chart for this set as well, which was really fun. Some of the colors, like this cooler red, I enjoyed so much. It's such a nice vibrant color, and especially the mixes of these cooler reds and yellow I really love, because that's where you get some of your peachy sort of skin tones. But of course, as with any sort of student brand of watercolors, I would say these are kind of upper student level quality. So what you're seeing here are some swatches. On the far left are the Arteza paints. In the middle are the Winsor & Newton Cotman paints. And on the right are the Prima Marketing Decadent Pies paints. I kind of grabbed some pseudo-similar colors, did a little bit of glazing tests, and to be honest, there can be so much variance within brands of paint, whether it's the specific colors that you're testing or the paper you're using it on. They're just all different. We'll talk about that a little bit more in a second, but first I wanted to show you the sketch for the piece I'm going to be doing. I had originally planned a different piece for this video, which I'll show you at the end, but it wasn't working out. I was having some specific issues with it, and I decided that I wanted a fresh start and started this new piece to use for this particular video, but I'll show you the other one as well so you can get an idea of some of the colors I was using. I wanted to show you an example. I was trying to mix a background color here, and the mix on the left was the cooler, more magenta color with my cool yellow, and the mix on the right, which is the one I'm using, was the warmer red mixed with that same cool yellow that gave me more of a sort of Naples yellow color. I don't know if I've ever used yellow for a background. I usually don't use yellow or like a reddish color, like a super red color for backgrounds, just because those colors are so dominant in skin tones usually. Those warmer colors that if I use it in the background, I feel like they would blend together too much. But this particular color palette was actually inspired by a very dear friend of mine. She and I actually did these sort of hand sketches. We both did them and then we swapped our sketches and colored them digitally. So this was the sketch that I did for her, and she colored it, and these are pretty much the colors she chose. I did ask if it was alright if I used the same colors as her, because I was just so inspired by what she chose, and she said that was fine. So massive thank you to her for kind of sort of picking these colors for me. In terms of the piece itself, I had a really fun time including like these paper airplanes. I don't usually include a lot of straighter geometric shapes in my work, but it was such a nice addition to the composition with the organic shape of the hand and the swirls that I added to kind of have that contrast of very straight geometric shapes. I think it was really fun, and I really enjoy the way that it worked. So a little bit more about what I was saying before about comparing student brands of paint and how difficult that can be. As far as ranking these particular paints, I would say I personally liked them better than the Winsor & Newton Cotman paints, which I have been using recently for the collab I did in my last couple of videos. So I do like these better than those paints as far as color selection and vibrancy of the colors and transparency of the colors, just ease of working with them. I like these better. But if I was choosing between these and like the Paul Rubens paints, which is another kind of higher tier while still relatively affordable paint, but if I was to compare these to like the Paul Rubens paints that I reviewed a few weeks ago, I would pick those over these. I really enjoyed the Paul Rubens paints. Those were kind of like a pleasant surprise. I feel that those are actually an exceptional deal, the Paul Rubens paints, and they just kind of surprised me right out of the gate with their vibrancy, and I really liked those. These ones, I would say, they're definitely worth what you pay for them. So this set currently goes for between $20 and $25, which is about the same as like the Prima Marketing Decadent Pie set of the same size, and comparable to the Paul Rubens 12 half pan set as well. So they're kind of all in just about the same price range. The Cotman paints are a few dollars cheaper. So for me, as far as enjoyment and quality of the paints and ease of use, I would rank these between the Winsor & Newton Cotman paints and the Paul Rubens paints. If you are just getting into watercolors and you're looking for a set, these may be a nice option for you. If you already have the Cotman paints and you're looking to upgrade, you could definitely get these, especially if you were to find them on sale or to get a really nice deal on them. Or if you got them as a gift, I don't think that you should need to be disappointed in having these paints. But if I had the Cotman paints or another student brand and was looking to upgrade, I would either go for a more professional brand like, I don't know, M. Graham or Daniel Smith or Sennelier. Those are other ones that I really like. Or if you're still looking to not, spend a ton of money upgrading from something super cheap like Reeves or Cotman, I would go for the Paul Rubens instead of these, just because you're going to get the things that I like about these paints, which was just kind of the ease of use, but you're going to get a little more vibrancy and saturations and a more substantial pigment load, so more saturated colors from the Paul Rubens paints, in my opinion, than you will get from these. That being said, Arteza has always been good to me as a company. They've been very kind and supportive whenever I have had questions about products, and I've always really enjoyed working with them when it comes to reviewing supplies here for the channel. And the paints themselves didn't stop me from achieving exactly what I wanted out of this piece. It really did turn out the way I had pictured it, and it came together the way I had planned. I definitely can't say that that happens every time I review more affordable art supplies. I often run into cheaper supplies just not being very reliable, and I find that I'm fighting the paints more to get the result I want, and I didn't have to fight with these paints, which was very, very nice. While I think their primary drawback is simply in the vibrancy of the colors, you're not going to get super heavy, dense pigment load, and the mass tone of colors maybe a little bit lighter than like your professional paints, but as far as an affordable paint goes, they're definitely not bad, and I definitely think that these are an improvement to the watercolor tube paints that I had tried before. I don't know if on their website if these are listed as a different quality to those, but my watercolor tube paints that you may recall from that review, I had poured those paints into pans and they cracked and they crumbled and they were kind of falling all over the place in those tins. And to be honest, those paints in the tins, I ended up just throwing that paint away. I thought about giving it to my daughter to use, but it was cracking and crumbling and I knew that it was just going to be a huge mess. So the Arteza tube watercolors, those paints, I ended up actually, not the tubes themselves, but the paints in the pans, I just threw those away. I'm not going to be throwing these away. I don't think that I personally will be using them, but I think that when my children are a few years older, they will be a great gift for them, because I really do think that you can learn watercolors with these paints. You can see with the other piece I was working on, the original one I wanted to do for this review, I was going for a similar sort of pastel color vibe. I wanted it to be like a wintry piece, but I was having some issues and it wasn't quite coming together. Another thing that I really liked about this set was the fact that it comes in a metal tin. I did struggle when working with the Winsor & Newton Cotman paints. I know that works really well for a lot of people, but I like to stretch out and make big washes of color, and I had a much easier time working with this metal tin for that sort of thing. So while my initial impressions of unboxing the paints started off alright because I liked the cardboard box they were in, and then declined immediately when I was looking at the paints themselves, I was so disappointed in how they appeared, to it actually ended on a really nice sort of sweet spot where I really like this piece. I'm not going to say that this is like a hidden gem, like it's better than Daniel Smith paints or anything like that, but there's definitely beautiful art to be made with these paints. I didn't feel like they held me back from creating what I wanted. The price is relatively affordable and competitive with other paints on this level, and I definitely think they're kind of worth checking out, especially if you're looking for something right in the upper student level quality. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch this video. You can check out the links down in the description for all of the products I use in this video, as well as the things that I mentioned that I was comparing these paints to, and I will see you all next time. Bye guys!